Welcome to this explainer of a truly powerful classic tale from ancient Baghdad. We're jumping right in today because this story, it perfectly captures the incredible weight of patience, divine justice, and the absolute devastating power behind a very specific kind of play. So buckle up because we're going to trace the rise, the fall, and the miraculous turning points in a saga of two completely different men.
There is no veil between the prayer of the oppressed and the throne of Allah. Wow. Talk about setting the stakes, right? That is a profound spiritual warning. It's basically telling us right out of the gate that unchecked arrogance has literal cosmic consequences. The tears of people who've been wronged, they don't just disappear into the dirt. They are registered at the highest possible level.
Let's kick things off with the test and oppression, the clash of two worlds.
So here is the core conflict, brilliantly laid out. On one hand, you have Abdur Rahman. He's a humble, deeply honest guy who sells pure attar, perfume. He is completely content with his little shop, which, by the way, is his family's ancestral legacy, and he trusts entirely in divine provision. But then, in stark contrast, you have Hashem. Hashem is Baghdad's most powerful, wealthy, and ruthless merchant, a guy who relies entirely on intimidation and his own massive influence. And the friction sparks when Hashem decides, hey, I want Abdur's little shop so I can expand my own giant warehouse. He makes an offer, and Abdur respectfully declines.
And this is where we see how incredibly fast Hashem can orchestrate a devastating injustice. Just because he was told no, Hashem unleashes his full power. Literally in the dead of night, masked men smash the perfume bottles and burn Abdur's ancestral shop straight to the ground. And the nightmare doesn't stop there. The corrupt police chief, who Hashem totally bought off, actually arrests Abdur right there as he's weeping over the ashes of his livelihood. And get this, they accuse him of burning his own shop to evade taxes. Crazy, right? Hashem then buys off false witnesses, bribes the judge, and just like that, Abdur Rahman is unjustly sentenced to 10 brutal years in a dark dungeon.
As he's being dragged away in these heavy iron chains, leaving his weeping wife, Amina, and their two little kids, Yusuf and Fatima, behind, Abdur Rahman utters these really piercing words. He just looks up and says, I am innocent. You are the best judge. He completely surrenders his fate to the ultimate authority. No cursing, no screaming. He just hands his entire case over to the heavens.
Which brings us to Patience and Faith in Darkness, the test of the abyss.
This is where the story splits into two parallel struggles for survival, and it is honestly incredible to see how these two lives mirror each other. Down in a damp, pitch-black cell, Abdur Rahman doesn't let this massive injustice sour his soul. He's actually sharing his meager rations with hungry inmates, caring for the sick, and maintaining this flawless character, just constantly praying for patience. Meanwhile, out in the world, his wife Amina is showing the exact same profound spiritual resilience. She's completely ostracized by neighbors who are literally terrified of Hashem's wrath, so she works tirelessly for an old tailor just to scrape together enough for food. Their 10-year-old son, Yusuf, he basically gives up his childhood to help his mom. Even separated by cold stone walls, this husband and wife are holding the line against absolute despair.
But then we hit the ultimate breaking point. What actually happens when all the doors of the world completely close? Little Fatima falls severely ill with a raging fever. It's the dead of night. They have zero money for medicine, and Amina begs her employer for just a tiny advance on her wages, and she is coldly turned away. The world has literally shut every single door in her face.
A desperate Amina completely collapses in front of a local mosque at dawn. Broken, she cries out, "O Lord of the Arsh, grant my daughter's life. Put an end to this oppression. We have no one but you." And when she finally goes back home, she finds little Fatima sitting up in bed asking for water. The fever had completely broken. This turning point is so powerful. It reminds us that when every earthly avenue is shut tight, the doors of divine mercy fling wide open, and simultaneously, the wheels of justice begin to turn.
And that flips the coin to the fall of arrogance, the empire crumbles.
You have to notice the terrifying speed of this downfall. While Hashem is out there busy boasting to his partner Jamil that fear is the ultimate power, his empire goes into an absolute freefall. Day one, a sudden, unprecedented storm at sea swallows his most valuable treasure fleet, wiping out half his fortune in an instant. By week two, poetic justice strikes hard. A mysterious fire burns down the massive warehouse he built right over Abdur's stolen land. Every single thing inside turns to ash. By month one, creditors are swarming him, and that same partner he was boasting to, Jamil, completely betrays his trade secrets. Hashem is left totally bankrupt, deeply paranoid, and haunted every single night by the memory of the innocent man he threw in a dungeon. Moving on to the search for truth, the unlikely hero.
So, as Hashem's empire is literally burning to the ground, a quiet revolution is sparking inside the prison walls. Enter our unlikely hero, a man named Ismail. Ismail is the head prison guard. He's very strict, but he is fundamentally, deeply just. Over the years, he's been watching Abdurrahman's flawless, pious character, and his gut is telling him there is no way this man is a criminal. So Ismail takes a massive risk. He secretly pulls the old case files and starts to investigate.
And this investigation is meticulous. First, Ismail follows the paper trail. He discovers that the police chief suddenly acquired a massive plot of land right after Abdur's arrest. Suspicious, right? He then tracks down Hashem's old, now abandoned false witnesses and promises them amnesty if they confess, which of course they do. Next, Ismail corners the corrupt judge in secret, slaps all this undeniable evidence right on his desk and terrifies him into writing a full confession. Finally, disguised in the dead of night and risking his own life, Ismail sneaks past palace security to hand this explosive dossier directly to the Sultan's most trusted guard. The noose is finally tightening.
That brings us to our climax. Mercy and ultimate freedom, the scales of justice.
When the Sultan reads that dossier, he is absolutely enraged at the corruption festering in his city, and he acts immediately. The inversion of their fates here is just incredible to witness. Hashem is arrested, stripped of whatever dignity he has left, and paraded through the very streets he used to terrorize, in heavy iron chains. He gets sentenced to life in prison. The chains he used to bind an innocent man are literally the ones he's wearing now. Meanwhile, the Sultan brings Abdurrahman out into the light, officially declares his innocence, grants his immediate freedom, and, as ultimate compensation, gifts him Hashem's confiscated palace and remaining estate.
What happens next is just absolutely beautiful. Abdurrahman sprints through the streets of Baghdad, reaches his crumbling home, and knocks on the door. A young man answers. It's Yusuf, fully grown now. A teenage girl peeks from behind him. It's Fatima. He just falls into the arms of his beloved wife, Amina. And what makes this resolution so deeply moving is that despite being handed immense wealth and a literal palace, Abdurrahman's character doesn't change one single bit. He refuses to live in Hashem's palace, seeing the wealth simply as another test from God. Instead, he rebuilds his original humble little perfume shop right over the ashes of the old one, and he dedicates his new, vast fortune to serving the poor and oppressed of Baghdad.
Listen to this profound statement again. Allah is the provider of my sustenance. When Abdurrahman first spoke those words to Hashem, it was a quiet defense against a terrifying threat. But now, it's spoken as a victorious, undeniable truth.
The prayer of the oppressed truly has no barriers. When the world takes everything, patience secures a reward that no earthly power can ever dismantle. This story brilliantly lays out how the darkest moments are sometimes just the setup for ultimate justice. So, I'll leave you with this provocative thought to reflect on as we wrap up. How often do we mistake temporary, arrogant power for permanent victory? And how might practicing true patience reshape the outcome of our own darkest moments? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.